Throughout the centuries and history, there have been some very botched executions that occurred, with inexperienced executioners or hangmen making a mess of the proceedings. In London there was Jack Ketch, who gained an infamous reputation for messing up executions, as two of his most high-profile victims, Lord Russell, an MP, and the illegitimate son of King Charles II, both lost their heads in terrible fashion, with Ketch swinging the axe down upon their neck time after time, as he could not separate the head from the body. The crowd became so angry that they wanted to execute Ketch following this. But there was one man who was hanged, and he actually survived this ordeal on the triangular gallows of the Tyburn tree. But what happened with the case of half-hanged Smith? To support our channel, please make sure to subscribe. John Smith was born in 1661, and he was the son of a farmer from Malton in Yorkshire. He worked as a journeyman builder who would travel to different places, and he then joined the Navy and was involved in sailing on a man-of-war ship, but he then left the Navy after the Battle of Vigo Bay. He then served as a soldier, but he ran with the wrong crowd and he began to break into different homes and get involved in stealing. On the 5th of December 1705, he was brought in front of the courts and was convicted of 2 counts of housebreaking and was then sentenced to death. There was no fuss at the time regarding this, but his execution ordeal was ordered to take place on Christmas Eve, 1705, weeks after he had been condemned. John Smith was taken south to Tyburn in London, where he was brought to the Tyburn tree, the Tyburn gallows, the infamous triangular structure, where throughout the centuries there would be thousands hanged in front of huge crowds. The gallows was actually made in such a way that many people could be hanged at once on it. Smith then walked onto the scaffold in front of the crowds, and he was helped onto a stool, and a hangman then took the noose in his hand, threw it over the Tyburn tree, and secured it around the neck of John Smith. The executioner removed the stool, and Smith began to slowly strangle to death. There was no drop method deployed at the time, it was slow strangulation which was the method of death. Some of his friends and family witnessed the execution, and they then came up to the gallows and tried to pull down on his legs to bring about his death quicker, choking the life out of him. But others then allegedly held the body up to see if he would not die. It was a huge chaotic mess, and there was even a collection of anatomists who were there to take the body away for medical dissection. This kerfuffle continued for 15 minutes, with John Smith being on the gallows, and following this the people asked for a reprieve, and this was granted, and the rope was slashed and John Smith was cut down. He was taken to a house close by where he did recover. He was asked at this point what he remembered, and he said, "I remember a great pain caused by the weight of my body. My spirits were in great uproar, pushing upwards. When they got into my head, I saw a great blaze of glaring light that seemed to go out of my head in a flash. Then the pain went. When I was cut down, I got such pins and needle pains in my head that I could have hanged the people who set me free." Despite this ordeal, Smith did go back to breaking into houses, and he was later brought to the Old Bailey for further sentencing. He thought he would be sentenced to death again, but was set free a number of times, but in May 1727 he was caught trying to steal a padlock, and was then sentenced to transportation to Virginia, and he was sent there, never to return to England. Half-hanged Smith, as he was known, following this, was one of only a few people who survived an execution ordeal, and it's probably through the intervention of his friends and family on the scaffold that did save his life. His comments following the execution were interesting, and do offer an insight into what happened before death on the execution scaffold. Thanks for watching. To support our channel, please make sure to subscribe, and once again, thank you so much for watching.